Hey, family, this is Doc Solo, the OG here at Generation Geek. And as we are starting this new YouTube endeavor, we're looking to bring you guys, all you geeks from across generations, some of the most relevant and engaging geek-related content that we can muster. And on that note, today we're going to do something that is my son and I often do, many of us do, right? It's just that YouTube gives us a platform to do it. And we're going to be doing a book review today, and not just any book review, a book review of an upstart company that is making impressive treadway into the independent publishing market. We are going to be discussing today ISOM number 1 in particular from the RIPPAVERSE. And so let's get this party started. Hit the intro. What up, number 1?
Yo.
Hey, welcome back, Gen Geek fam. Welcome back, and so far so good. Thank you guys for all the love and the views. If you have not done so, follow, like, subscribe, do all the things that are things here on YouTube, and let the algorithm know that you rocks with us. And today, hopefully, everybody had a great New Year, Merry Christmas, all that great stuff. As we launch the Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. You got that audio bumping now. Listen to you, man.
Makes my sweet, sultry, low tone voice sound even more.
Look at you, booming, doing big things. Well, as we said, one of the things we're going to be sharing with you guys are our opinions and our breakdowns when it comes to comics, which is near and dear to our hearts. It's actually where this whole thing started, especially for me, being the pops. I've been in this comics game now, man, for 30 years as a professional, right? Man, 30 years as a professional. Yeah, I know, right? But even though, we do all the things, comics is still kind of, it's that ricochet point. We come right back to it, that boomerang spot, right? We come right back to it, whether it's movies, whether it's video games. Comics is home for us. And we know that the mainstream market is hurting. There's no secrets there. Blow all the smoke you want. The mainstream market is hurting. But there's a new tribe of independents that are on the rise, that are doing some very noteworthy things. And so before we get started, let's just get this out there. These are our opinions. Okay, these are our opinions. This is a medium that we love, that we enjoy. I tend to look at things through a more professional lens, as far as execution and art and story, and having an online school. And this episode, like all episodes, are brought by Ka-Pow, the Comic Art Academy. Check us out at Ka-Pow School. Ka-Pow. Ka-Pow, the Comic Art Academy, the real art school for real people with real lives, taught by real industry pros. And as someone who not only has taught comics for a couple of years, and how to write and draw them, I'm that. I do write as well. I have my own studio. I tend to always look through things through a technical lens. Though the fan in me is still very much alive and kicking, I kind of leave that to my son, because it's kind of hard for me to turn my teaching brain off, right? Because how I look at comics. And quite honestly, a lot of comics that I read even today, if they're not already superstar teams, I'll just be honest with you. The price of comics now, I don't have the time to experiment like many of us. The price point is just gone there, so if it's not a superstar team that I'm already aware of, or something like that, it's usually something that's being recommended to me. by someone in my camp. But this was not the case with this book. Today we're looking over ISOM #1 from newest player on the scene, the RIPPAVERSE. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with the RIPPAVERSE, a young brother by the name of Eric July, who is a YouTuber. I guess he's also a musician. He's also a musician and a commentator. Highly intelligent young brother. I rocks with some of his content. I don't rock with all of it. I think, that's another commentary. But, but by and large, he's a young black creative who has tossed his hat into this arena, as a longtime fan. And his first foray, his first salvo has been ISOM. And not to snooze on what he has accomplished on this. ISOM is a 3.7 million. I think he made this issue earned $3.7 million in the campaign that he raised. Nice. $3.7 million. You know what I mean? 3.7. And man, let me tell you something. That's impressive. Now, some detractors may say, and let's just be honest, I'm not a detractor. Okay. I give credit to where credit is due. Period. Okay. I'm not here to host a smear campaign against him and what he's doing, especially as a black entrepreneur in a space that has largely not had the most room for us. Okay. This young brother has done something that is nothing less than impressive from an entrepreneurial standpoint, in my opinion. Okay. I don't care how you slice it. I don't care what you say, that he basically, leveraged his fan base. Who wouldn't do that? Right. He leveraged his fan base for the release. Yes. He built a nice, reputable platform in the comic. I don't know what that space really is. I listen to a lot of it, but it's I don't know if it's more critical than anything, but it's entertaining. But it's a lot more picking fights than I'd care to, over comics. Yeah, takes, a lot of hot takes, a lot of colorful language, and a bunch of geeks trying to be tough and all this stuff. This is comics, man. This is comics, bro. You know what I mean? Let's not lose sight of that. This is the stuff that we escape to, and no matter what side of the tracks you come from, this is comics. This is escapism, And let's be honest, I ain't a whole bunch of tough guys in comics, right? So all the fighting and. You can have an opinion. Yeah, I get it. Everybody has one. We're sharing ours as point of fact. Right. And we want to be kept as so, but mine is more objective. Okay. So just know that I'm more objective. Jay, on the other hand, my son, he's more of the fan. Tell him where you coming from, Jay.
All right. So before we get into this, you guys got to understand where I'm coming from. So I come from the more of the comic book geek fan perspective. And when I say like the comic book geek fan perspective, I mean deep in everything. Like I am the fan that looks at the respect there is, that looks at the power scaling, that goes all the way back and looks at what this character did in 1990 versus how they look now. So like everything I do comes from years and years. So he's been in the comic industry for 30 years. I've been reading comics for 27, almost 30 years since I was able to read. So by the time I was like 6, I was reading comic books.
Always in my stash.
Yeah, always in. Like he wouldn't let, like when I was young, he wouldn't let me read like one of the stuff. So I have to go back and actually read all this stuff all over again. But yeah, so it's been from a very long time. So I'm well versed in comic scaling, character scaling, power scaling. Obviously stories, how stories are told from great writers like Jonathan Hickman, even from people like Mark Waid, who wrote Kingdom Come. So I've read and looked over some of the best art from Alex Ross and some of the best writers. So where I come from, it's a very, very experienced position, as I would humbly say for myself, because I like literally would spend hours on days on looking at respect threads and looking on Wikipedia pages and just researching stories and what issue did this happen, going back and reading that entire run. So when we talk about from where I come from, it's a very, very experienced and well versed place. Like I've
Yeah.
read books that were super dry at the beginning, and they start off super slow to have this great ending. Where I'm like, okay, you just gotta get past the first 3 issues, and then it gets good. So that's just where I'm coming from. Once we give our, I don't want to, I guess it's a critique. I guess it's
Critique, opinion, input, insight.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Because let's be clear before we dive in. We're not wishing death on anybody that's trying to do anything in this space, right? Because we need the industry to thrive. I have a school that's predicated on it. I'm trying to produce put people that have this creative unction and inclination out into the marketplace to keep this industry kicking that has been so good to me and my family, right? And so let's just say that. But we don't fear no smoke. Don't get it twisted. We don't fear no smoke, especially not when it comes to comics. This is our opinion. I'm going to give my insight from breakdown of ISOM #1. Later we'll do his other releases because he is cranking out more books. But come on, man, $3.7 million.
That's impressive.
That's impressive. I don't care how you knock it. I've seen some of his detractors try to, and I've seen him do this as well. One thing I'm never going to do is overinflate anything. We don't do that, but we're also not afraid to give somebody their props where props are earned. You dig what I'm saying? And I don't care how you cut it, how you slice it, what side of the tracks you come from. A $3.7 million earning venture, first time out the gate, leveraging your YouTube popularity. I know he did some music with his group Backwards or something like that. However you did it the right way, okay, to ensure the success of this book. Now, I bought issue #1. Largely because it's an act of solidarity and a Black lead character, like many #1s, curious, like many people, right? And not to mention, my brother, Mr. July, made his mission statement is ballsy, to say the least. You know what I'm saying? It's ballsy, and he's putting it out there unapologetically, and I can rock with a cat that gets down like that. But the flip side of that is when you do that, not that you shouldn't, because I'm a fan of go big or go home. Everybody who knows me knows that that's what I believe. But when you take that position, you better deliver in the final product. You gotta deliver, man, because people are waiting to see you fail, right? That's just us as human nature, I'm one of those people that I build in silence, and then when I release things, people are like, "Oh my gosh, who does this dude? Where'd he come from?" He doesn't take that approach, which is fine. Teach his own. But I do believe in building, in secret, and then when it's ready to unleash, leave a scar on the face of the world. That's how I get down. But this brother made some really, you can read it for yourselves. I'm not going to bore you with it, but he really propped it up as this landscape altering, terrain reshaping venture of comics to basically restore comics to kind of, as he perceives, he's a young dude. I think he's right around your age, around your brother's age. So, I account for that. I'm older. I probably got kids his age. But he's going to change the face of comics and do his thing. And if I'm being quite honest, it didn't hit the mark. to be quite honest. It didn't hit the mark, though I appreciate the attempt and the bravado and the courage that it takes to build anything. I'm always going to rate you on, did you accomplish what you said that you would, right? Did you hit those metrics? I'm not comparing you to anybody else. I'm not comparing you to another independent. I'm not comparing you to, I'm just holding you to your word, what you said this was going to be. Did you hit those benchmarks? And I don't think that's unfair, right? I don't think that's unfair, even though it may not be favorable. I don't think that's unfair. So before I get into my breakdown, let's go into ISOM number 1, and you tell me, son, as I shift things around here, your thoughts, your input, the whole 9 yards.
All of it from.
Go ahead now, yeah, because I want them to hear what you have to say as somebody that again is an aficionado of all things comics. And when I tell you this, I got to give my son props. Just a little backstory of how really he is with this stuff. I have a very popular Whatnot channel, right? And we have trivia. My wife, his mom does trivia while I'm drawing and drawing for my supper, right? When he comes in here, and mind you, we have trivia resources. My wife's not a comic book person. So we have like tomes of comic book related trivia, tomes, right? Yeah. Thousands upon thousands of minutia type stuff. and when I tell you this dude comes up and folks swear up and down we be trying to cheat, I'm like, no, we don't be cheating. The dude knows this. You know what I mean? This is what he does. And so his comic knowledge, you got to put respect on it. Seriously, it puts mine to shame. He lapped me a long time ago, which is not uncommon for most industry pros. You know what I mean? We kind of get into we kind of start narrowing our vision, and though we still buy comics, that pool gets smaller and smaller.
Yeah. It's just a different lens now.
It's just a whole different lens.
Okay, it's just a different lens. Yeah,
it's a whole different lens. So I just wanted to give some context to who he is and how he gets down before he goes in and does his thing. Let me go ahead and pull up this. I thought I had it pulled up.
All right. Well, to start on this opinion take, I don't like calling it a critique on this take on my opinion. First, we're going to address the story. And this is, we're only covering issue 1, but I've read both of them. I haven't read Alpha Core yet, but I read these 2. I gave them the due diligence. The story starts very slow. Pretty much the entire book is kind of slow. From the very beginning, there's no establishing the world. And I think that was my biggest issue. So, of course, there's going to be some spoilers in here, so you guys going to know. But ISOM is what they consider in this world they're called accepts, which are obviously people with superhuman abilities. A big issue with that is in the world settings, we don't know where or how these people got their powers. They just have them. We don't know if they were born with them. We don't know if it's a special pill, if it was given to them magically or by God or whatever. We have no idea where these abilities come from. That was my first biggest thing. Then they start to introduce all these people pretty much with no name that also have powers, and we don't have any idea of scaling. And what scaling is when we have what scaling is in the comic book community, as many of you guys who are watching this will know, is it's just power scaling. It's to know what characters match up with what. So in accordance to most comics like Marvel and DC, you have street level characters, you have what we would consider you got street level, then you got high level, then you got like hero level, which are people like Thor and Superman. Then you got like cosmic level, you got gods and stuff like that, and you got cosmic levels like Galactus and that aspects and stuff like that. And you got the street levels who are like Luke Cage, Spider-Man, Captain America, the street level characters and stuff like that. There's no indication of how strong or how powerful any of these characters are. Like, it's very inconsistent. For one, for Isom, he gets dropped on top of a car at one point and messes up pretty bad. And in another scan, he's shown ripping a gate off with one hand and leaping great distances. That's how it looks on the scans. Leaping great distances like he's the Hulk or something like that. We just have no proper power scale, but then he gets backhanded by some random human thug and it hurts him and draws blood. That was pretty much my big thing, because I had no gauge on where to put this guy. I believe in his universe in some way. I guess he's the main character, right? He's kind of the closest thing he has to a Superman archetype so far. Am I correct on this? Like,
I would assume so. He's the pillar character of this entire Rippaverse.
Right.
He's his flagship guy.
Yeah, he's the flagship guy, which is fine. He doesn't have to be Superman level. Because Spider-Man is not. And for Marvel people, when they think of Marvel, they think of Spider-Man. That's their guy. He's clearly street level, not a pop. But like I said, back to the skeleton, we have no idea. We have no idea how strong, how durable he is. How are you supposedly super strong, but then you getting hurt by random thugs, or can only land on a car? You can't be that strong to be hurt. Like if you look at Luke Cage, he has indestructible skin. With indestructible skin, or that level of durability, comes a certain amount of strength. Now, obviously, Luke Cage isn't Hulk level, but we have good scaling on where he is and where he isn't. So that was a very, very big thing for me. Then we go to the dialogue. We go to the dialogue inside of the book, and it was my biggest thing. I don't know who his audience is when it comes from the perspective of, obviously, my dad being a great writer and reading from other great writers. Some things seem a little forced. Some things seem a little out of touch for who you're trying to appeal to. And then you have certain characters who seem to work in the energy space, right? But then they see something like, oh, I'm going to tell my mom. I'm going to tell moms on you. It's just, it doesn't read right. The pacing is bad. It's kind of hard to keep up with. Like, and then then sometimes, like, they stay in the panels too long. They'll stay in one scene for way too long. They have one scene and they have like 7 or 8 panels. Sometimes of action, sometimes just talking to things that could have been shortened. They could have been condensed in at least 2 or 3 panels and then moved on to the next thing. So it kind of dragged on a bit till you're like, you get to a point where you're reading, you just want to skip to the next page. Like, all right, bro, just get to something else. And I feel like just in the short shotgun burst, those were my biggest issues with it from the comic book fan perspective.
Right.
The art, the art wasn't the best either. A lot of anatomy's weird. They have this weird thing. The artist has this weird thing with like arms and elbows.
Mm-hmm.
It's very strange. Like, he can't draw an elbow and an arm or a bicep connecting. It's kind of weird. If you look at some angles he takes, you never see like the elbow or bicep connecting. It's a little weird thing that I noticed just from an artistic value, especially when it comes to like straight on like this. Like, it's very weird. But the art, it wasn't the best. It wasn't the best. Very inconsistent at times, and yeah, that's all.
Okay. All right. So you brought up some interesting points. So here's let me put on my director/instructor hat at this point. The artist is a guy named Cliff Richards, who I believe is Brazilian. Okay, and I've looked at the commentary, and again, I bought it out of curiosity. Now, my first and foremost, this book ain't cheap. Okay, it's not cheap. The actual print quality is great, right? But at the price point, I think he shot himself in the foot. Just to give a little context, a lot of people purchase, especially when it comes to comics, in the first issue. People will buy it on that alone, right? First issue, new company, especially when you are such a carnival barker, as you should be for your own property, as Eric July has been for his, right? The brother goes hard for his property, and he makes sure he does the Stan Lee thing as good as anybody else. And so when you do that, people are going to buy it, the first one, So again, that 3.7 million, impressive, but that's initial sales. And make no mistake, ain't nobody hurting around here for loot. Okay. Mm-hmm. But I'm all about getting value for what I purchase. And at $35 for this is the thickness of it. After it was delivered, it was on face value, buyer's remorse, right? I was like, oh, wow, $35. Okay. To give a context for many of you guys, a book this size, typically on the high end, maybe $20, right? For a graphic novel of this size. And that's on the high end. And that's from, again, we have to make certain comparisons, because regardless of what you think about the mainstream, the big two, Marvel and DC, they are the standard bearers, right? They cemented they are the source from which all things comics are derived, right? As far as point of reference, as far as excellence, as far as pricing, they are the trend setters, historically speaking, regardless of where they are now. Okay. And especially when you're talking to people that have grown up in the culture. And so $35 for this, you're going to get a lot of those initial buyers, right? Initial buyers. But when you charge that much, even as an independent, we can kind of justify being a little bit higher because we're a smaller company, and all the things that come along with that. There's a little bit of mercy and grace typically given there. But I don't think I don't think Eric July is one of those guys that you kind of, you're not going to be like, oh, isn't that sweet? We're going to go ahead and support his thing. No, he makes it quite clear he's killing the game. You dig what I'm saying? In his production, his YouTube growth. So he wasn't hurting for the cash. So the price point to me was a very off-putting, because in today's comics, see, back in the day when this was pretty much standard, you didn't mind blowing $1.50 out of curiosity. Didn't mind it. You know what I mean? You didn't mind blowing $2 out of curiosity. But even now, with the standard floppy being $4 to $5, people can't afford to be curious anymore. You just can't afford to be curious anymore. But again, black company, I wanted to show solidarity. You know what I mean? Your brother trying to do something, black lead character. You know what I'm saying? Right. The whole 9 yards. There was a lot of sympathetic points that boxes that he checked off with me that made me buy this. What he didn't deliver was on quality, as far as not print quality and production quality, actual creative quality. Creative quality just is not there in any real way. One of the things, and hopefully, he hears this and takes it to heart. I'm not a fan. I am a warrior by nature. Okay. From military to law enforcement, my son, we are fighters by nature, and I'm not talking metaphorically. And I still choose peace. You dig what I'm saying? You know what I mean? I choose peace. I prefer peace. Right. Yeah. But we don't fear the smoke, because I can justify what I'm saying. And the marketplace ultimately always decides. When I opened it up, Cliff Richards, at his best, if you look up any of his work, and he goes hard for his guy. Granted, the dude's been in the industry, once again, the industry that now we vilify when it's convenient. Right. But that's where he earned his chops. But he was by no means a top tier industry guy, by no means, right? Far from it, quite honestly. I think he started with Buffy, the vampire, Buffy, I think with Boom.
Well, I heard that name in a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. And, they're still around. But he misses so many marks. It lacks energy. It lacks any type of sequential interest. The coloring is good. The scans are bad as far as the coloring, but the coloring, Gail L. Tape, he did his thing. But visual storytelling narrative, not Mr. Richard Strong, so definitely not anatomy. Definitely not anatomy. What brought my attention, what forces me to be more critical than I'd like to be, is on the actual writing. And the reason I'm really big is because everything starts with story, right? Everything. And I think that Mr. July It's, again, he who has the goal makes the rules. I get it. But I think he hurt his company by him leading the charge with their first publication. I think that hurts it, because my man is not a writer by any real means. And I can say that objectively, because on one of his shows, these guys like to battle it out on Twitter. Y'all can have that, man.
We can talk in person, but
we can talk in person, bro. You know what I mean?
A live video, but we ain't doing that Twitter stuff.
Well, he invited this dude on, and again, he was offended. Obviously, he was offended, and I get it. But if you're gonna make an argument based on facts, right? Make sure your argument is strong, and don't get so caught up in semantics that you ignore the truth of the matter, right? For the sake of winning the argument. And the detractor, you can see it on his YouTube channel, where the dude says that he's not a writer, and Mr. July says, "Well, I am a writer." Well, you wrote music for your indie punk rap band, whatever it was, backwards, right? That ain't writing comics, man.
It is.
That ain't right. That is not writing comics, bro.
No more. Close.
Not even remotely close. Okay, and it shows, right? It shows. It just reads bad. You dig what I'm saying? The dialogue is nonsensical. It doesn't fit the moment. There's no real pacing in it. There's scrounging for moments of emphasis to have some kind of eye candy. My man needs
like the splash action pages aren't like super interesting.
Or they're not. They fall flat.
They fall flat. There's no weight. There's no weight to it. It's just, and like I said, this is just art in general. It's obviously not bad. I just read the new Thanos 1 and 2. Oh, it's so bad. Oh, it is so bad. I read it last night. So bad. Writing so bad. Characters. It's not even the characters. They made Doctor Strange like a moron. It's just bad. Blue Marvel. It's just a bad book. Yeah, bad writing. So it's not just like a picking on him thing. It's just the fact of the matter. It's just not.
But here's the thing: you put yourself in that crossfire when you make the claims that, because he started arguing with dude on the thing. Well, I am a writer. No, I disagree. I am a writer, and that's when I was like, oh, bro, don't do that. Don't do that, because you know what he means, right? This is a comic book geek who was talking within the context of writing comics, right? And just to be clear, there's very few people that, I teach it. So writing, I'm considered by my peers to be a much better writer than I am an artist. And I'm considered to be a top industry level artist. You know what I mean? If that says anything. Currently working on several properties as we have relaunched our studios after some time away. But my very first book off the gate got me across the country.
Yeah.
And it was only 10 pages of narrative. Yeah. He was a kid. My first book off the gate, right? Only had
Harvest show. He was everywhere.
I was everywhere on the news, flying out venture capitalists, companies, met with Sony, PlayStation representatives, the whole 9 yards. And that was my first one out the gate. So I was talented. Right, at least at the very least,
he didn't know nothing what he was doing. He didn't know.
I knew nothing. I knew nothing. I knew nothing. Let's just be clear.
Coming from a place that we don't know, we know what it looks like to not know what we're doing.
Exactly.
We know what that looks like, and I learned from him, so I know what it looked like too, because I watched him do it. I was a very attentive child.
Exactly, and so out the gate, my first book, and I wasn't ready for it, which Mr. July has me. I use my story to my students as a cautionary tale. Mm-hmm. How to prep for success. I was not prepped for success because I didn't expect people to. I didn't have his confidence and his swagger in this arena. I was just talented and I had a story to tell. Now I'm talented and 30 years educated. You dig what I'm saying? I've given writing its due respect. Okay, from Stephen Pressfield and Joseph Campbell and Sid Field, and if there's a book on writing, Stephen King's on writing, and I consume it. Save the Cat. Writing is its own skill set, and you set yourself up for failure. And you do competent writers. We're never talking about good writers. Competent writers. You do the craft injustice when you say you're one of them, and you haven't done the work. You ain't done the work, bro. Hopefully, Mr. Was it Chuck Dixon now that he brought in? Hopefully, Chuck Dixon comes in and consummate pro that he is, and take advantage of the mentorship potential there. You dig what I'm saying? Because again, I'm not talking politics. I'm just talking about craftsmanship. He's a proven writer, and I don't think I'm alone. I don't think I'm alone in this. Like I said, he argued the fact, and that's what got me. It would be different if it was a little bit of humility. Well, you're right. It's my first comic book I've never written. But when you say, well, I am a writer. I am a writer.
That's like saying, oh yeah, I can play games. I'm good at spades. Therefore, I'm good at chess too. Like no,
right? Because you play spades.
Just because you play spades don't make that's not the same thing.
Right.
That's not does not make you good at games because you're good at spades.
Boiling hot dogs don't make you a chef, man. I'm sorry. You know what I'm saying?
A good story writer or a good graphic novelist is not good at writing a short story because he needs a long platform to tell a good story. He can't make a good short story and make it good.
Facts.
It's just not the same thing.
It's different muscles, man. It's so many different muscles. And again, as somebody who has a school that is creating a new generation of artists and inspiring them, and I've done all the lectures, I've done all the things. If you're going to continue writing, and again, I encourage every creative to pursue their creative outlets. I would just hazard to suggest that you not experiment with something that you have so much writing on, right? You dig what I'm saying? And this is a labor of love for him. And so I would assume you got a lot of writing. You definitely got a lot of money invested, okay, because you're bringing on teams. Again, the smartest man in the room hires people better than he is. Okay. And it seems like he's trending in that way. But what I think it hurt was, and we can go as far as you want to, again, you can look at the artwork. It lacks weight. The buildings have no real line weight to them. The backgrounds are sparse at best. The camera angles are not exciting. The conversations are not engaging.
The characters aren't interesting.
They're so uninteresting. There's really no real character development to speak of. The story structure is virtually non-existent. Whether you're using Koshitin Retsku or the 3-act structure, it's nothing. It's nothing. Right. And again, this is stuff that I'm not even trying to sound smart. You can research these things and learn these, how to tell a story that is engaging, if not excellent, at least engaging. It was a hard read. It was a hard read. And though I wanted to support it out of sympathetic reasons, I could not in good conscience drop down another $35+ I almost did. But when I saw more of the same in issue 2, when he started releasing them, I'm like, no, I just can't. I can't. You know what I mean? I just can't do it.
Scroll back up real quick. That's another thing I was confused about. When did he punch a hole in that guy?
I don't know. That's what it looks like. You're seeing like this Mortal Kombat. Like I don't.
But then
it's nonsense.
These are regular people.
Yeah, it's nonsensical stuff like this that I'm like, what is really going on here? Again, you can rock with your dude, Cliff Richards. I get to stand by your team. I think the new team on Alpha Core, I think you should have led with that team, quite honestly, on your first one out the gate. Because if you go to a site,
how did they get these powers? Where is this coming from?
We don't know. You're not telling us. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of, remember Heroes? Remember the show Heroes?
Yeah,
right.
Oh my god, with Skylar and Siler and Peter Petrelli and Hiro.
The worst thing you can do is raise a bunch of questions and not give the audience any real answers. And say, wait for number 2. You got to give them some answers.
Give us something.
Gotta give them something. Let us know what the world is. What is your world? What are the rules in your world? Establish that from jump, okay? Make us curious about the world initially, and we may hold on for the characters. But when everything is dependent upon underdeveloped characters and there's no real world building out the gate or world information, you're playing Russian roulette with your property at that point.
It is, and it's a real easy thing. All you say is it's the year 2024. Humans, half the population is known as except they got these powers from this and that. Most people are just ordinary people. They have a little extra strength or extra speed, but then there are those who are the exception. There are those who are like ISOM. They can do like just give us something for. There's none of that.
What are the ranges?
Who is this?
Yeah,
this is lady in his gym attire.
Right.
She's at an aerobics class. Who is she and why is she stronger than him and beat him up?
Facts.
He told this man up. And she can fly. He can't. Why? And she fast. And she can shoot beams. Why?
Yeah. Why? What's really going on here?
We don't see her again for the rest of the book. We don't see
right.
her after this.
And we're told to wait for, I guess there's this team of these twin sister directors out of Canada, the Suska sisters that he hired, that are going to be doing the book Yara. But you got to wait till later to get that. That's not how you set up for her. You dig what I'm saying? You didn't give us enough to be curious, let alone interested. Let alone interested. Yeah. And so, again, backgrounds are flat and uninteresting, bare minimum. I got students right now that could possibly draw this dude under a table. And they're students of mine. And that ain't no cap. You follow me? You know what I'm saying? That's no cap. So, again, I dig the showmanship and the mission. I applaud you for putting something out into the world. I know what that takes. That's tough. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's tough. And you did it. You put it together. You got your first writing credit. But I don't think you did your company any favors. And I think, again, the market ultimately decides. So what did the market say? See if I'm here alone. This is the numbers, once again, for ISOM number 1. And also, let's also put props out there. You did your family proud. Okay. Apparently, ISOM is based off of his ancestor, one of his great grandparents, his grandfather. Mm-hmm. There was a whole legal scandal that was shameful, where the International School of Ministry tried to sue him for copyright infringement. Right. Oh, wow. We're Christians, and as a Christian, I took umbrage with that because it just seemed like a really lame money grab. And so I know I followed him on that. Congratulations on beating that down. It was frivolous at best. But to create a character that has familial ties to you, I give kudos to all of that, man. I'm not, capping on any of that. But to show you, now mind you, just keep this in mind. If you were a smaller company, I would be worried. If you were a bigger company, I would be worried as an entrepreneur, because he's also a student of Thomas Sowell, just like I am, right? The economist, Thomas Sowell. He was actually on Thomas Sowell's documentary on Amazon Prime. You can see him on that. Yeah, Eric July was actually in that. But the economics you cannot ignore, right? You can spend them, but they're telling a much larger story if you're paying attention. As impressive, and it is impressive, 3.7 million. I never got anywhere close to that. Okay, not saying that I won't with these stuff we got coming, because we about to drop some fire, and I'm in the process of. I learned something from Mr. July. I'm building my audience. You dig? You can teach an old dog some new tricks if the old dog's paying attention. The old dog's always paying attention. Believe that.
Always looking to learn. That's for sure.
Always looking to learn. But if we look at the difference between ISOM number 1, which is 3.7 million, and we won't go too deep into number 2, which is 2.3 million, which is still very, very impressive. I don't know, is it showing up there? Let me see. Make sure it's showing up. Okay, yeah. Right, which is 2.3 million. You're talking about a 37, almost 47% drop off. over a third between issues 1 and 2. Now, I try to do some research to find out what a typical normal attrition rate is between releases, and I can find anything definitive. I guess it really varies from property to property, and you really don't want to consider things like, novels like Harry Potter or things like Dogman, the stuff they're using to pad the comic book numbers in the industry, using things that aren't related like manga and that kind of stuff, but as someone that has, really gone all in on this, that would be a little concerning to me.
Yeah.
Between 1 and 2, 37% drop off.
Yeah.
You take 37%. 37% of your initial number did not return for issue 2. What are your thoughts on that, man?
Yeah, that's a very huge. Like I said, if you're like into the numbers, obviously you're not like the big artsy guys. Go, I'm just doing it to put it out, and I'm just doing it for the love of it. But man, money matters, especially when you're doing a project of this magnitude. When, because I believe that you told me, again, I'm not as informed as my father is on Mr. July, but you do have. I believe I was told that you have a warehouse. So, for me, myself, as a business owner, I have a brick and mortar company as well. I own a gym. So, and I can almost guarantee my gym is nowhere the size of a warehouse.
No.
So if you have a warehouse, those are bills that need to be paid. And if you see that much of a decrease in your fan base, especially in your sales from the first one to the second one, that is definitely something to pay a huge amount of attention to, and to figure out what you did wrong in the first one. So, like they always say, men lie, women lie, numbers do not.
No.
If the book was like that, like Invincible or something like that, where the first one came out, people just had to get the second one, because like books like Invincible or any books of that nature, they just
there's precedent. Walking Dead,
Walking Dead, they rise in sales. They rise. From your first to the second one, you had a 37% decrease, and when it comes to finances, that is huge. That is a huge decrease in numbers.
Yeah. And again, if he was a bigger company, I'd be worried. But and I don't know what his staffing numbers and his warehouse and all that stuff, but that's overhead, right? Yeah, again, we're entrepreneurs, we're business owners. Okay, I have a school and I have my own studio. I have people on payroll, so a 30% drop off, 20%, I'm concerned. All right, I'm looking at, all right, what happened? What did I do? You know what I mean? How did I lose? How did I not just lose momentum, but how did I go backwards in such a significant way? And then again, not to go too far down the rabbit hole, but it seems to be trending, which is concerning. And kudos to him for being transparent. Again, I can rock with a dude like this. Okay, it's just that I'm not willing to keep putting good money after bad on a product that I can't fully buy into. You know what I mean? But Alpha Core, I think now just reached 1.2 in sales. But he's actually brought in a seasoned veteran team of creatives. Chuck Dixon, Joe Bennett. Again, not casting aspersions on Cliff Richards, but he ain't Joe Bennett. But these are guys that are kind of legends in their own rights. Okay. Right. But you see now that they're already at 1.2, and the campaign, they've already, done fulfillment. That's a 47% drop off from the previous number.
Yep.
That's 47%.
Almost
right?
Half, yeah.
On a book that I think is largely better. And he's doing animations, and I'm from the animation world. That ain't cheap. Okay. He did his whole animated trailer, which basically is the opening salvo of Alpha Core, but animated. But now that you got a team of, you should have led with this team. This is the team that you lead with. Seriously, this is what you lead with. I know you wanted to do your own thing as a fan, and I get it. Put your fingerprints on it, but you the boss, and the baby comes first. Period.
Caution.
You know what I mean? Mark Cuban ain't out there suiting up on game night with the Dallas Mavericks.
Man, for real.
right? He plays in the
Because he love
practice.
the game so much, yeah.
Yeah, he gets to play with his, the toys. He goes to the practices and has shooting contests with, the players and whatnot, and laughs and enjoys the fruits of his labors. But come game time, my man ain't suiting up. He knows that's where his skill set, he's punching above his weight class.
Right.
And so I'd say while you learn and develop your skill, if that's what you choose to do, don't let your property suffer in the process.
Right.
You dig what I'm saying? That's just how I've taught my son that. The baby eats first. What's in the best interest of the baby, even if it's not me not drawing. Even with my studio, because I have the skill set to write and draw and color and all the other stuff, make no mistakes, I'm not trying to do all of it. My next phase is to find artists that are better than me and writers that are better than me. And it's not like that's hard. You just got to know where to look.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not that it's hard. You got to know where to look. There's a lot of talent out there, and work myself out of a job. So then I'm fully doing the Stan Lee thing. I'm promoting. I'm carnival barking. You dig what I'm saying? I got the loud horn. I'm pounding the pavement, doing the promos and the interviews and all that stuff. But yeah, now that you actually have a team, I don't know if I ain't gonna say it's too little too late, because 1.2 million is still a lot. Still very impressive. It shows that there is a level of loyalty. I don't know how long they're gonna be loyal at $35 a book. You dig what I'm saying? I don't know. Already, it's not looking like it's high on their list of must-haves if the trend continues.
It's a numbers trend, for sure.
It's a numbers trend. You got to pay attention to the numbers, man. You got to pay attention to the numbers. So, again, congratulations on getting something out into the marketplace. We will never, cast aspersions on that. Never knock that. 95% of people don't do that.
Nope.
So that's telling right there. You're already in elite status as soon as you put something out into the world. But I get behind him as a aspiring publisher. I don't think that his mission statement, number one, you got one, which is great. We have one here as well in my studio, as well as my school. But you got to over deliver. You can't even kind of deliver. Okay, whatever you say, you got to over deliver.
I didn't see him in the rest of the book neither. This guy with the green eyes. Who is this?
I don't know. It's so many different variables added to this thing.
Just leave. Like, yeah, just
so things are not clearly identified or built upon. It's like a bad gumbo, man. You just do a bunch of ingredients, but ain't no real flavor.
And then why is this girl so important to this fake ping guy?
Yeah. And it's a lot of this. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's visually boring.
Backfighting the same goons again that he fought earlier.
It's just visually place. It's in comics you have to give, like, one of the things we teach our students in visual storytelling at Ka-Pow is, I don't care if it's even a talking heads, right? You have to make it a cool conversation, visually appealing, play with your camera. You dig what I'm saying? Give us something that beefs up the moment, right? Everything ain't got to be a fist fight, but even if it's one of those very nuanced moments, give me some facial expressions, give me some character dynamics, give me some background candy, some Easter eggs happening in the background, something. Right. You know what I mean? Pay homage to some of the books that you loved as a child by putting things inside the scene that only the most well-versed like Jay would catch.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, because man, clearly like supposed to be some type of Luke Cage. You could have had a bartender saying "Sweet Christmas" or something. You could have did. There's so much that you could have did. I mean, just to give us some, because I can't think of him being nobody else but Luke Cage. That's what it looked like to me. But
yeah,
worse Luke Cage.
Like this
big guy again.
Trying to find a moment, right? Like you're grasping at a moment, You know, not only is the anatomy bad, you know, but these are what I call tween poses, right? These are not really high dynamic poses. In animation, we have those poses that are in between key poses. When you're drawing comics, and especially when you're trying to draw an impactful moment, you got to have a key pose, something that fully delivers and follows through on that moment, right? You're trying to show that moment right before they're engaged, and you know, both of them got their knees up. You know what I mean? Like their knees about to kiss. I'm like, it's just bad composition.
They don't bump knees first before they even go.
Yeah, I'm like, come on, man. And then what happens? What? They pass each other? What do they do?
You don't even see them.
Did they hit? Well, look, they jump and what? Like they landed past each other? They missed?
No, they bounce back.
No, it's like they missed. There's no point of impact,
No
and then they keep going in opposite directions. Like y'all missed each other. How'd you miss this big old dude? You know, and why did you miss him? You know, y'all dancing? Is this break dancing? What are we doing? We having a dance battle? What's going on? You know, it's yeah. Again. Now here's my thing in closing. They brought in Kanan White. Kanan White he did the cover. I'm gonna go ahead and close this out because I think there's not a whole lot more to see here. And we're gonna be reviewing other other books as well. We're not just gonna pick on my man. But Kanan White did this cover, and Kanan White is we've actually circled each other for years. Warren, I think, knows Kanan. We know a lot of the same people in the industry. Kanan is a workhorse. I'm not saying I'm not a fan of his work in particular. He's more of a '90s product, but he's competent, right? He's competent. They brought Kanan White in though, the guy who did this cover, who was probably the best covers that they had in my opinion.
Sure.
He should have did the book, but they brought him now. I agree. He should have did the book. I think he would have had a much better result. But he's now the art director. They brought him in as the art director, I guess, for creative oversight. That's a tall order. Hopefully Kanan's up for that. You know, being a creative overseer is no small task, especially when you got, again, people like Chuck Dixon and Ed Bennett. Now, I don't know about the Soska sisters. I know there's some kind of movie directors. I don't know anything about their writing, so I won't comment on them. They're doing Yaira. But I don't know. Maybe if he has a price drop, I might circle back around. You know what I'm saying? Real talk, maybe. But I'm not spending $35 for this. I can't in good conscience. There's plenty of people who will. Kudos to those. Your tribe's gonna rock with you. That's the number one rule of business. Your tribe gonna rock with you regardless. These are our opinions. Okay, take it for what it's worth. You know. Again, if you have any questions, any comments, leave them in the comments below. Reach out to us. If you agree, disagree, we want to hear what you have to say.
Put it in the comments.
Leave it in the comments. You know, this has been our first review. Again, I wish him the best. I want to see him succeed. But no one's got money for charity that ain't needed in their purchases. Folks want to get their money. So if you ask for $35, bro, you got to lend me $35 worth of wow.
Yeah.
You know, $35 worth of wow, and this ain't it. This ain't it. So yeah, we'll come back and we'll probably check out number 2 later. You know, I want to hear more about what you have to say, and we'll check out Alpha Core at a later date. If you have a book that you'd like us to review or to break down, we can go further in depth. This is our first one of these. Leave comments below. Let us know. Until then, that's all I got, son.
Peace.